Reaching 60 is like climbing a mountain and finally reaching a panoramic pass. From up there, the view embraces a wider horizon, and many things that once seemed indispensable now appear small and insignificant. The worries that were plaguing us, the ambitions that were driving us, the fears that were limiting us lose their intensity. It is time to lighten the baggage, to let go of the superfluous, to continue the journey with serenity and wisdom, both in body and spirit. Have you ever thought about how you want to live your adult years? Do you dream of peaceful days, in harmony with yourself and those you love, lulled by the slow rhythm of nature? Or do you fear loneliness, physical decline, loss of independence and dependence on others? What if we told you that the key to a fulfilling old age lies precisely in the ability to free yourself from old patterns, from useless burdens that you have been carrying around for years, like a tree that sheds its leaves in autumn to prepare for the new cycle? Maturity can be a wonderful season, a time of inner growth, peace, and freedom. But to live it fully, we must learn to let go of what no longer serves us, opening ourselves to new possibilities, new joys, a new lightness of being. Stay until the end of the video and you will discover 10 things you can let go of after 60 to live with greater lightness, fullness, and joy. But before continuing, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to stay informed when we publish new content for your spiritual growth. Zen Master Kenzo, with his bright smile and deep gaze, addressed the disciples gathered in the monastery garden, an enchanted place where nature seemed to dance in harmony with the sky. The light wind caressed the leaves of the maples, creating an atmosphere of quiet and harmony, while the scent of lotus flowers spread in the air. Dear friends, Kenzo began in a calm and reassuring voice. Life is a river that flows, constantly changing, like water that flows between rocks, adapting to their course. So too we must learn to flow with time, to accept changes, to transform ourselves. There comes a time when we understand that what we once considered essential has now lost its meaning. After 60, the pace of life changes, becomes slower and more introspective. We look back and see the journey we have made, with its joys and sorrows, its successes and failures. And with this new awareness comes the wisdom to discern what truly matters. Kenzo paused, letting his words sink in like seeds falling on fertile ground. Today, I want to share with you 10 burdens that we can shed after the age of 60 to live with greater serenity and fulfillment. By reflecting on each of them, you can experience the lightness and inner peace that accompany true freedom. The need for approval. For too long, we have tried to please others, to conform to their expectations, to wear masks to be accepted. We have shaped our choices, our behaviors, and even our dreams based on what we thought others expected of us. We have sought the approval of parents, teachers, friends, colleagues, partners, often sacrificing our authenticity. But now is the time to free ourselves from these chains. True freedom comes from authenticity, from being true to ourselves and our values without seeking approval from anyone. Kenzo told the story of Hana, a woman who had dedicated her life to satisfying the expectations of her parents, her husband, her children. She had put aside her desires and passions, giving up painting, traveling, cultivating her creativity to be the perfect daughter, the impeccable wife, the ideal mother. She had always put the needs of others before her own, suffocating her true nature. But after 60, with her children grown up and her husband gone, Hannah realized that this constant search for approval had made her unhappy. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw a dull, empty, joyless woman. She then decided to devote herself to writing, a dream that she had always kept in her heart, like a flame burning under the ashes. And so finally, Hannah found her voice, her true essence, and began to write delicate and profound poems, which spoke of emotions, memories, dreams. The grudges and wounds of the past. The past is immutable. Like a wave crashing on the beach, we cannot go back and change it. Holding on to resentment, pain, anger prevents us from living in the present, from appreciating the beauty of each new day. Forgiving others and ourselves frees us from the weight of pain and allows us to look forward with serenity, to open our hearts to peace and compassion. Kenzo told the story of two brothers, Taro and Jiro, who had broken off their relationship because of an old dispute over their parents' inheritance. For years, resentment had poisoned their hearts, creating a wall of silence and bitterness. Taro felt betrayed by his brother, while Jiro felt misunderstood and unjustly accused. Both suffered from this fracture, but neither had the courage to take the first step. But one day, Taro, now old and sick, decided to put aside his pride. He went to Jiro with a pounding heart, afraid of being rejected. Jiro opened the door and, seeing his aged and frail brother, welcomed him with a hug. The two met again, sharing memories and regrets, and forgave each other. Tears flowed from their eyes, washing away years of pain and resentment. From that day, their brotherhood was reborn, stronger and more authentic than ever. Attachment to material goods. True wealth does not lie in the things we own, in the objects we accumulate, in the money we keep. True wealth lies in inner peace, in the relationships we cultivate, in the love we give and receive. Simplifying our material life, freeing ourselves from the superfluous, allows us to focus on what really matters, to appreciate the beauty of small things, to live with greater freedom and serenity. Kenzo told the story of a businessman named Ichiro who had dedicated his life to financial success. He had amassed a considerable fortune, owned a luxurious mansion, luxury cars, and precious objects, but despite his material abundance, Ichiro felt empty and dissatisfied. His life was a frenetic race between meetings, contracts, business trips. He had no time for his family, for his friends, for himself. One day, during a vacation in a Zen monastery, Ichiro had a deep existential crisis. He realized that he was wasting his life chasing an illusion of happiness. He decided to sell everything and move to a small mountain village. There, he began to live a simple life, in contact with nature, dedicating himself to meditation and volunteering. He cultivated a small garden, walked in the woods, read books, helped the villagers, and so Ichiro discovered that true happiness lies not in having, but in being. Concern about physical appearance. True beauty does not lie in the external appearance, in the wrinkles that mark the face, in the hair that turns white, in the body that loses its tone. True beauty lies in the serenity and wisdom that we have acquired over the years, in the light that shines in our eyes, in the smile that lights up our face. Accepting the changes in our body and aging gracefully is an act of love towards ourselves. Kenzo spoke of a woman named Setsuko, who had always paid much attention to her physical appearance. From a young age, she was considered a beauty, admired for her elegance and charm. But as time passed, Setsuko began to feel uncomfortable with the signs of aging. The wrinkles on her face, the white hair, the skin losing elasticity, inexorably reminded her of the passing of time. She spent hours in front of a mirror, trying to hide the signs of aging with creams and makeup, but she felt increasingly dissatisfied. One day, while walking in a park, observing the reflection of a lotus flower in a pond, she understood that true beauty does not fade with time, but transforms. Like the lotus that emerges from the mud, shining and immaculate, so too the human being can blossom at every stage of life, manifesting a unique and unrepeatable beauty. From that moment, Setsuko stopped fighting against time and began to serenely accept the natural flow of life. She began to take care of herself with love, not to hide the signs of time, but to nourish her body and soul. She discovered the beauty of aging gracefully, of accepting changes with serenity, of radiating an inner light that went beyond the physical appearance. Working without purpose. Work should not only be a source of stress and fatigue, a duty to be fulfilled, a burden to be borne. Work can also be an expression of our creativity, a way to contribute to the well-being of the community, an opportunity for growth and personal fulfillment. Now is the time to dedicate ourselves to activities that we are passionate and gratifying, that make us feel alive and useful. It's time to rediscover our talents, to cultivate our passions, to dedicate our time to what makes our heart beat, or simply to enjoy a well-deserved rest, the pleasure of no longer having obligations and deadlines, to dedicate our time to ourselves and our loved ones. Kenzo told the story of a man named Hiroshi who had worked all his life as a bank clerk. It was a repetitive and boring job, but Hiroshi did it with diligence and precision to ensure a future for his family. After retirement, Hiroshi felt lost, without a purpose. His days were empty and monotonous, filled only with small household chores and television. One day, walking through the streets of the city, he saw a sign announcing a ceramics course. Driven by curiosity, he decided to sign up. He discovered that he had a natural talent and began to create objects of rare beauty: vases, cups, plates, decorated with floral and animal motifs. Ceramics became his new passion, a source of joy and satisfaction. Hiroshi spent hours in his workshop, modeling clay, experimenting with new techniques, giving shape to his creativity. His works began to be appreciated and requested, and Hiroshi finally felt fulfilled and satisfied. Toxic relationships. Time is precious, a gift that should not be wasted. Let's not waste it with people who make us suffer, who criticize us, who belittle us, who drain us of energy. Toxic relationships are like a poison that poisons our soul, prevents us from growing, from being happy. Now is the time to clean up our lives, to distance ourselves from negative people, to surround ourselves with sincere affection, with people who love us and support us for who we are. We deserve to be loved and respected, to have people who make us feel good, who inspire us, who help us grow by our side. Kenzo spoke of a woman named Yumiko who had an old friend named Keiko. They had grown up together, shared joys and sorrows, but over time their friendship had turned into an unbalanced relationship. Keiko was a negative person, always ready to criticize and complain, to see the negative side of every situation. Yumiko, after spending time with her, often felt tired and demoralized. She had tried to talk to Keiko to make her understand how she felt, but without success. Keiko was not willing to change her attitude. One day, Yumiko decided to distance herself from Keiko to protect her serenity. At first, she felt guilty, but then she understood that she had made the right choice. She deserved to have positive people around her who would support and encourage her. The rush and the frenzy. Life is not a race. It is not a competition. It is not an accumulation of commitments and deadlines. Life is a precious gift to be enjoyed calmly, with attention, with gratitude. Slowing down, savoring every moment, living calmly allows us to appreciate the beauty of the present, to grasp the details, to listen to our heart. Now is the time to free ourselves from haste and frenzy, to slow down the pace, to give ourselves time for the things we love, for the people we care about, for ourselves. Kenzo invited his disciples to imagine a day without haste, without pressing commitments, without the need to run from one place to another. A day in which to wake up calmly, enjoy a cup of tea in silence, read a book in the shade of a tree, walk in a forest, talk with a friend. A day in which to stop and admire a sunset, listen to the birds singing, breathe deeply. A day of simply being without having to do. Imagine, Kenzo said, walking in a Zen garden, observing the arrangement of the stones, the flow of the water, the delicacy of the flowers. Imagine sitting in meditation, listening to the silence, feeling the breath, calming the mind. Imagine spending a day like this, in harmony with yourself and with nature. This is true wealth, true happiness. Guilt over past choices. We all make mistakes. We make bad choices. We make decisions that we later regret. But the past is the past. We cannot change it. Brooding over mistakes, tormenting ourselves with regrets, blaming ourselves for the choices we made is useless. The only thing we can do is learn from our mistakes, draw lessons from them, and move on. Freeing ourselves from guilt allows us to live fully in the present, to look to the future with hope and confidence. Kenzo told the story of a man named Takeshi who was tormented by a decision he had made in his youth. He had turned down a job opportunity abroad to stay close to his family. Now, as an old man, he wondered if he had made the right choice. He felt guilty for having given up an experience that could have changed his life, and he feared that he had disappointed his parents' expectations. Kenzo reminded him that every decision, even the one that in hindsight may seem wrong, has brought us to where we are today. We can't know what would have happened if we had made a different choice, Kenzo said. The only thing we can do is accept the past, forgive ourselves, and move on. Takeshi realized that there was no point in dwelling on the past, and that he could use his experience to live the present with greater awareness. He began to devote more time to his family, his grandchildren, his passions. He realized that he had made the right choice, and that his life was full of love and meaning. The fear of getting old. Aging is a natural and precious part of life, like the blooming of a flower or the changing of the seasons. Each stage brings with it new opportunities, new challenges, new forms of beauty. Youth has its splendor, its energy, its lightheartedness, but maturity has its charm, its wisdom, its serenity. Growing old does not mean decaying, but evolving, transforming, reaching a new fullness. Let us welcome the wisdom and serenity that come with age, the memories that accompany us, the experiences that have shaped us. Every wrinkle tells a story. Every white hair is a sign of wisdom. Every slow step is an invitation to contemplation. Kenzo described an elderly woman named Yayoi, who had always been full of energy and vitality. She loved dancing, traveling, and partying with friends. But as the years passed, Yayoi began to worry about her physical decline, fearing losing her independence and becoming a burden to her loved ones. Her knees began to hurt, her eyesight was weakening, and she felt tired more often. One day, while walking in a park, she saw a group of elderly people practicing Tai Chi Chuan with slow and harmonious movements. Attracted by their grace and serenity, she decided to join them. She discovered that, despite the limitations of age, she could still move with fluidity and grace, finding a sense of balance and well-being. Tai Chi Chuan taught her to connect with her body, to listen to its rhythms, to accept its limits. Yayoi learned to appreciate the strength and resilience of her body and to live each day with gratitude. The need to control everything. Life is unpredictable, a continuous flow of events that we cannot always foresee or control. Like a river that changes its course, life surprises us with unexpected events. Changes, challenges. Accepting that we cannot control everything frees us from anxiety and allows us to flow with events, finding peace even in uncertainty. Letting go of the need for control, opening ourselves to the unexpected, allows us to live with greater serenity, to adapt flexibly to circumstances, to seize the opportunities that life offers us. Kenzo spoke of a man named Masaru who had always tried to plan every aspect of his life. He wanted to have everything under control, to foresee every eventuality, to avoid any unforeseen event. His house was impeccable, every object in its place, every activity precisely scheduled. But over time, Masaru realized that life is full of surprises, of unexpected changes. His wife's illness, the loss of his job, his son's move abroad, forced him to confront the unpredictability of life. He learned to accept uncertainty, to let go of the need for control, to adapt flexibly to circumstances. And so, Masaru discovered a new form of freedom, a deep serenity that comes from trusting in life. Kenzo concluded his speech with a radiant smile, which radiated warmth and wisdom. Dear friends, life after 60 can be the richest and most fulfilling. By freeing ourselves from these unnecessary burdens, we can live with greater lightness, wisdom, and joy. We can dedicate ourselves to what truly matters: inner peace, meaningful relationships, gratitude for every precious moment that life gives us. The disciples listened in silence, Kenzo's words resonating in their hearts like a melody that awakens the soul. As the sun set, painting the sky with shades of gold and red, each of them felt inspired to live more consciously, to let go of what was no longer useful, to embrace the beauty of aging. Let us remember then that maturity is not the end, but a new beginning. It is the time to reap the fruits of a life lived, to enjoy the freedom and wisdom that only experience can give. It is the time to love, to laugh, to learn, to grow again and again.